Yeah. All right. Thanks again, everyone, for joining today's session for Launch It Digital Pioneers. So this is our third inspirational talk. And as you would know, we are continuing from June to August with um, a new set of speakers. But for today, we have a very special guest speaker. As you all know, he's the founder of the Gym Kitchen, Segun. Um, and you know that he has a passion for business, innovation, and diversity in FMCG. He's built this brand that if you, I don't know if you've listened to the BBC interview, but I did, and I was so inspired listening that I thought we just had to get him for you guys because the story of his hustle to get the gym kitchen in the shelves is just really inspiring. And obviously, how he's built this business from the ground up. So I won't tell you all about it because that's what you're here for, to hear about the journey. Please welcome Sigyn.
Hello there. Yeah, thank you very much for that. Really, really nice intro. So because there's a small audience, I would love to know who everybody is and what they do, before I intro myself. And that would help me kind of almost shape the advice or that I can give you guys as well. So feel free to intro yourself if that's all right. So Kieran, if you want to go first.
Yeah, sure thing. Can you hear me properly?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Cool. I'm Kieran or Kay. I run a artist services agency called Upstream Artists. We basically help to elevate artists' digital journey, like temporary management, label, sort of our definition. Been doing that for a year now. Previously, he was over at Sony and a bunch of other labels. And yeah, started my journey myself through it and my brother, and we'll be bringing another intern in June. Also exciting. But yeah.
Cool. Nice. Great to meet you. And Jana?
Hi there. Sorry, I didn't have my camera on.
That's
Um,
okay.
I'm Yana. I've started a skincare brand about a year ago, specifically for people living with eczema. I'm about to launch physically in June. I've currently got pre-orders open.
Nice. Amazing. And Maya? Broken battery on a laptop. Okay, cool. All good then. So, yeah, so my name's Segun Akinwoleola. I'm the founder of a brand called the Gym Kitchen. So what I'll do is I'll start off by explaining my journey as to how I got a brand from zero to being on the shelves of most of the supermarkets in the UK and kind of the lessons and learnings that are, upon along the way. But then also open it up for any questions that you guys have got. And like I said, it's a small room, so let's make it super interactive if we can and ask any questions that you want in terms of picking my brains, etc. So I grew up in East London, a place called Forest Gate. It's around the corner from Stratford for those that don't know. And right now it's got all these fancy coffee shops and everything like that, but it was not like that back in the day when I grew up. It was knife crime, gun crime. Nobody wanted to be seen anywhere near Forest Gates. And actually, the only thing that made it cool was the Olympics when it came to Stratford, and then everybody started to know about it. So when you grow up in Forest Gate, the first thing you want to do is get out of the area, right? So at school, so I grew up in a single parent household. So at school, I wasn't really paying too much attention, and as such, I didn't really get the greatest of GCSEs. But then I went to college, and it meant I had to retake maths and English, which was long, but also something that I just thought I had to do to be able to progress my life, really. And then I almost had a bit of an eye opener on that. If I don't get better, do better, hang around with better people, then I don't know where life's going to go. So at college, I kind of almost had a new and improved mentality. I wanted to get into a university within London, but I also thought, well, if I have to go a bit further out, then it's fine. So because I'd had to retake my GCSEs, I didn't actually, there were so many universities that weren't willing to accept people from from that if you've already done retaken your GCSEs. So I ended up going to this university called the University of Surrey down in Guildford. And I didn't want to leave London. I wanted to stay there, hang around with my friends. But I always tell everybody that that was the best decision I've made in leaving the area, going to a brand new area, and just meeting people that were just different. So I met people of different cultures, different kind of almost like working classes. I met rich people, middle class, poor people that kind of went there as well. And it just gave me a great insight into how society kind of works and operates in that as long as you have focus, are good, and want to learn, you can achieve anything from whatever background you've come from, right? So the great thing that then happened was at the University of Surrey, they really encourage you to do placement years, and this will be really, really relevant for you, Jana. Is so I did a placement year at a company called Coty. So Coty owns all the celebrity fragrances, so like Lady Gaga, Beyonce. They also own lip gloss, so such as Rimmel, Sally Hansen, NYC. So I did a placement year and I was in marketing on the Adidas body sprays brand. That gave me the first like real insight into like what we call fast moving consumer goods. So this is creating products for people that need them for some sort of reason. So I absolutely loved it. And obviously, I graduated. And the good thing about Coty was they took me back as an employee. So I loved it, really enjoyed it. But obviously, for me, it was also about progression as well. So I kind of then started to progress through the ranks a little bit. And I chose to go down the sales route as a career. So I progressed and I worked at a company called Cow Brands. They own John Frieda Hair Care. I worked at Biore Skincare. So, I've sold Biore Skincare to retailers. And my remit was always to sell these products to retailers. So working with the different marketing teams, the different operations teams, and how you bring this whole piece together to get the products out there. So as you can imagine, that gave me a real insight into how you create and launch a product, right? So I then decided that kind of selling makeup, skincare, and hair care wasn't for me, as you can imagine. There's only a certain amount of time I could keep on doing that. So I thought, do you know what? I want to go into what we call the bread and butter of FMCG, which is food and drink, because food and drink is like what you go into a supermarket to buy. You buy beauty, here and there, but really and truly, you're going to Boots, Sephora, those kind of places to, if you're like looking at the premium end of life. So I then went into food and drink. I worked at this company called Up and Go. So they are an Australian breakfast drink. And at the time, they had no distribution in the UK. So they were massive in Australia, had like 100 million Aussie dollars or something along those lines. And they wanted to launch in the UK. And for me, it was a great way to do startup, but backed with like proper money, because you all realize that startup is very, very hard when you don't have lots of money. But my idea was, how do I get a safe job, but also in an entrepreneurial environment? So I did that and I absolutely loved it and it was great. And then I felt like, okay, now is the time to like take the leap and create my own brand. So what I decided to do then was in 2016, I looked at the market and I went, sports nutrition is absolutely booming, right? So they're creating like all these different fixtures on the shelves for sports nutrition. So back in the day, if you wanted protein powder, you'd have to buy it online and you weren't sure what it would come laced with, right? So it's just coming all the way from America or some random person made it up in their kitchen. For me, I was like, okay, that's great, but where's the supplementation? That's the supplementation piece, but where's the actual meal piece, right? So if you're getting a consumer to actually eat a product, how do you get them to do that? That's not the supplementation piece. Then it was meal prep and scratch cooking, right? Chicken breast, broccoli, brown rice, all for the week ahead. Nobody really wanted to do this, but they were having to do it because they were getting caught up in that way of thinking, in that this is the only way they can have healthy products for them. And then the last piece was where I had a bit of a retailer lens on, right? So I put my retailer hat on and I go, if I'm a retailer, people are losing shoppers to these quick serve restaurants. And I say the quick serve restaurants like Pret, Itsu, Crush. So if you wanted anything remotely healthy, the supermarket probably wasn't where you were looking. And so for me, it was putting those three categories together, going, how do we create something that taps into those three audiences, brings them together, and just do that for a brand? Because again, own label, private label branded, nobody really wants to also buy them as a young, enthusiastic, health conscious consumer. So the great thing is then I had a brand name, which is the Gym Kitchen. And this is probably the first lesson in terms of branding, right? So if you have a brand name, I always say to everybody, you must trademark it. And I guess this is the first way into the digital footprint, right? Because trademarking is so important. Like a lot of people, they go and register a website or they go and get a logo created. that doesn't mean anything whatsoever. So you need to go to the intellectual property office online, trademark the brand name, and then you own the name to that product and nobody else can claim it for you. Obviously, if you're infringing on someone else's, then there might be some issues, but that's kind of almost like the first bit of lesson there. So then what I did then was the next step is okay, how do I get these products? How do I create these products? How do I find a manufacturer? So did a lot of looking online, bit of Googling, bit of looking at the back of some of the products as well to see who manufactures specific items so that I could then try and launch my brand onto these shelves. So I'd found a manufacturer, I went to them and I said to them, hey guys, got this idea. They were like, oh, not too sure. This is just some random young dude coming and asking us if like telling us he's got an idea. So then I went to the retailer. So I had a meeting with Morrison's, pitched them my idea, and I asked them at the end of the meeting, do they have any manufacturers that they recommend we work with? They gave me a name. I went to that manufacturer and told that manufacturer that Morrison's want us to work with you guys. So, hey, you've got to make some meals for us. And long story short, they end up making the meals. And what happened then is we then end up launching into Asda stores. So we launched into Asda stores in 2020. But I guess before all of that happened, there was a lot of back and forth in how long it actually takes to create and get a brand on shelf, right? So the first bit was actually creating the branding. So I looked on Fiverr for somebody, I'd looked on like asked friends and family. I'd asked so many people who can make the brand, but the branding just wasn't coming out as to how I wanted it. And that lesson there is that sometimes it doesn't look how you want it to look, but there's more power in getting product out there than there is on it looking super aesthetically pleasing straight away. Because if you try and launch something, if you launch something and you think it's perfect, then you've probably launched it too late. Because there'll always be iterations of things as you continuously go along, right? So I then got to this point where I'm going around, I'm pitching to all of the different retailers. Some of the retailers are saying no, some of them are saying yes, we like the idea, but we just don't have the space. And so those that were saying no, I could understand why they were saying no. And for me, it was about taking on that feedback and almost like rechanging and reshaping the feedback. So an example I'll give you is someone said no because they didn't like the branding. So then I'm trying to be more inquisitive on, okay, well, what is it that you didn't like about the branding? So that then I can see whether that also resonates with our customers. So then we'd then go and ask our customers the same questions or our potential customers, what do you think of this? I also spent a lot of time standing outside gyms, fitness centers, those kind of places, just really trying to understand, well, what is it that customers want? So what flavors am I going for? What type of style product? What size product am I going for? And this is the lesson in kind of almost like understanding the data and really like speaking to your consumer audience, right? One of the things that we did very, very well as well was we almost did like a pre-sale. So like Yana, you were saying earlier on, you've got pre-sales already. That's perfect because that is the best way to kind of almost utilize just digital because you've got access to all of these people via Instagram, via Facebook, via LinkedIn to go, will you buy this? They then stick those pre-orders in, and then you have a platform to launch from. So utilizing that data and that information is really, really key to then do that. And that's what we did as well. So January 2020, we launch into 100 Asda stores and it does very, very well. And it's amazing and everybody's happy. And then 3 months later, COVID hits. And when COVID hits, as you can imagine, we came straight off the shelf because for some reason everybody was caught up buying chicken breast and toilet roll. So a bit of a crazy one. But what we had was the saving grace was we were able to like come back again because we'd shown that we had like good, kind of good sales within it as well. So I then continued to build it, and like a year later we got into Tesco, and we've just won multiple awards. So we've won like the Pioneer Awards, we've won Tesco Person of the Year awards. We've won so many different awards. We keep on creating products. Our latest product innovation is our sausages. And the whole aim of the brand is really to be that go-to brand for the real protein consumer, right? So that's kind of where we are today. We're available in Tesco, Asda, Morrison, Sainsbury's, Ocado, Co-op. So, like I say, pretty much all of the retailers, except Waitrose, Aldi, and Lidl. And that's what we're trying to do and achieve, right? Is just to be the biggest brand out there and look at different avenues in different areas. Now, just want to touch quickly in terms of like diversity, right? So obviously, as mentioned in the beginning, really super passionate about diversity. So when I was growing up, I could not see people in business that looked like me. And that posed a big challenge in terms of, well, what was I aspiring to be like? So I then decided that actually I wanted to pave the way for other Black entrepreneurs, for other diverse entrepreneurs, for other women as well. So any group that's kind of almost like as some sort of minority. So I spent a lot of time standing up at Tesco's head office, talking to them about what we want to achieve, where we want to go with it, but also asking them to help us create schemes and programs that enable a more diverse workforce, but also a more diverse business area too. So hopefully that makes sense. And that's a long story short, but I would love to use the rest of the session as an interactive part to ask for you guys to ask any questions on, just about your businesses, what you think, any questions really. Yeah,
I can go first if no one's going.
go for it.
I guess it's such an interesting story. My kind of background is the other way around. I started in food and drink and then decided to go into skincare. So it's a bit the other way around from how you did it. What are like the differences you found most like prominent? Like what's very different in the space other than like obviously the stockists you said like retail is obviously very much more front and center for food brands.
Yeah, yeah. So retail is more front and center for food brands, but like, obviously there are areas in like Boots, Superdrug, Sephora. So like from when I worked at those companies, if you look at market share, right? So Boots is probably like 30% share of the beauty market.
Mhm.
Superdrug's like 10. And then you've got everybody else that kind of almost like weaves its way into. But where you look at the traditional supermarkets, they tend to be a lot lower around that like 10% mark, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
You're welcome. No worries.
I have one question while we're waiting for the others.
Yeah.
Um, you mentioned about like growing up and looking at the landscape and thinking it's not a place for me. Business would be tough if I want to get in as a person of color.
hmm
Um, what were the barriers that were like that you had to face, and how did you like overcome them? Like and like what concrete steps? I guess like because I would assume a lot of the entrepreneurs on here would be facing some of the similar
Yeah,
barriers.
yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the main barriers is obviously less than 1% of VC funding goes to black entrepreneurs or goes to like female entrepreneurs, full stop. So that's a big, big challenge. So the way I went about that was just seeing finance in a different way, right? So I ended up working part-time whilst trying to build my brand to then prove to other people that this will work. So putting all my money in, using loans, overdrafts where needed to be to just fund just like yeah, the operations really. So that for me was, I guess, the main one I'd say. The other one is access to networks. So talk about things like manufacturers and things like that. You can't just rock up a manufacturer and hope they're going to produce products for you. Like these are tight-knit industries in people that know people that know people. So what I did was I went to more networking events. I went to go and see, find out how I can meet as many people as possible, whether that even if there was no intentions of it, I'll go meet someone, write down their names, and then kind of almost like just yeah, have them ready for if I ever needed something or if there was a way I could help them. I call it network without expectations, just meet people. That's all I'd say.
Hi, I got a quick follow-up on that one actually. Sorry, I'm just cooking at the same time
All good.
for my next meeting. But the thing that yeah, so you're talking about the firstly your story is really inspiring. By
Appreciate
the
it.
way, especially yeah, having grown up in a similar environment but more northwest. But anyway, the point was with the investors part of things and the you networking, but not maybe like activating certain people at a particular time, how did you find maintaining those contacts during that period where you wouldn't need to activate them or engage with them like over a series of time? Because I found found that space of like networking as well, like that balancing point in the challenge at times as well, actually.
Yeah. Do you know what? That's a very, very good question. So what I would do is I would always just try and stay relevant within their sphere or their world, right? So let's say, for instance, they are commenting or posting on LinkedIn. Like all it takes is a nice comment. Yeah, that's great, love it, resonate with it. You're then still in their psyche without actually asking them about like to do things, right? Again, like are they going to be at a certain networking event that you know, and then you then start to build a rapport. So you've seen them twice, and then you've gone, oh hey mate, do you remember me? And you just have a normal conversation. Some of it is finding common ground as well. Like, is there a sport that you both love? Is there something that you both like resonate with? Because 90% of the time, there will always be something that you both like, whether that's some sort of Netflix show, some sort of event, some sort of football team, podcast, that kind of stuff. Do you see what I mean? So hopefully those three things like help you on this journey, but I'd say it's how you stay relevant.
Cool. Sounds like I'm doing the right thing on Instagram, and I just need to do it on LinkedIn as well now.
Yeah, perfect.
Anyone else have has a question? If not, I'll fire away another one.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So just so
Oh,
you
I think
mentioned
there might
about.
be some coming up in the. Is there
Oh
some in the
yeah,
chat that someone can read for me?
yeah. Do you have an exit or long-term plan for your business?
Yeah, so for me, there isn't necessarily an exit plan. It's more just when I started this brand, I started it out of frustration that these products weren't available for me. So now I still have that frustration that they're not available everywhere and they're not available in the shape or form that I want them to be in. So for me, I've got this opportunity to really build a really nice, cool brand. If an exit comes at some point, then it comes, but that's not in the back of my head because when you start building a brand to exit, things change very, very differently in terms of the way in which you operate and what you look for and what you go after. So, if you're trying to exit a brand, you're looking for we're looking for super fast growth anyway, but you're looking for fast growth. You might not be looking for profit. Yeah, a lot of brands aren't profitable nowadays and lose money to just show that top line growth. So that's not what we're after. I'm trying to build a profitable brand that's here, that's sustainable, and that's here for the long term, if you see what I mean. And also, it will be down to the potential partners because once you build something and you've spent like 8 years of your life doing it, the last thing you want is someone to ruin it.
Yeah. I I was gonna ask. You mentioned about branding like as a key thing that you did,
Yeah.
but in terms of digital tools or skills that you had to invest on early on when you were starting, what would be the top two or three tools, platforms, or even like skills for yourself that you
Yeah.
think young founders should um, invest on?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, social media is the number one thing that you should be looking at, and you should be like trying to figure out how to like really get into the nitty-gritty of it. And the reason I say that is when I first started working, social media wasn't that big. So the only way that customers were able to get in contact with us was via like letters, emails, whereas now there's such an easy way to connect with them. So I'd say digital in terms of like how can you understand meta in a lot more detail as well. That's what I did. Tried to figure out, kind of almost like flows and customers and CRM systems and that kind of thing that really helps you stay so super, super close to them. But also the data that comes with it. So, like if you look at an e-commerce platform, for instance, those e-commerce platform skills are also invaluable. Who are your customers? Where are they from? What's your conversion cycle? How often, what's your cost of acquisition? What's your purchase? Those kind of things. Because nowadays, most people, if you're doing a product that's to sell to consumers, you would highly likely start online. So I think those online digital skills are, yeah, again, like I say, the most important. But then I'd also say just the soft skills are also just extremely as important too. And soft skills I talk about in just like simple things like communication and dedication and that ability to have drive and passion and enthusiasm and wanting to work. So I think everything goes hand in hand, but just being a great communicator works, yeah, like so good for you. And then learning everything that goes on top of that was amazing.
Thanks for that.
No
Yeah.
worries.
Yeah. Anyone else have a
I
question?
have a little question. Did you have any like coaches or mentors when you first started out, or like, people for support?
Yeah,
Would you
yeah.
still
So
have people like that I don't know, like accountability partners or people you can trust that you can
yeah,
like bounce ideas off and stuff like that? Because I'm
yeah,
guessing everyone needs like no man is an island, I guess. Everyone needs people around them to, boost them up, keep them going.
100%. So for me, I don't have official mentors, right? And the reason I don't have official mentors is because when you go up to someone and say, "Hey, can you mentor me?" it becomes very formal, and also like busy people don't really have time to sit and mentor people, right? But what I did do is I kind of almost do this thing where if I need some help, I know who I'd call on. And you almost call them like your personal board of advisors. So they don't know this, but you've got like 5 or 6 people that if you needed something from, you just go, "Hey mate, can you help me here? Hey mate, can you help me here?" And the reason that they're willing to help you is because you also help them too. So it's almost like a really nice two-way thing. Yeah, one of them is Wilfred Emmanuel Jones, also known as the Black Farmer. So he actually was a big help in terms of me launching the brand in the beginning, in the real early days. So again, like loads of fun and passion and knowing how to do it. And I think that saying, the greatest people learn from the mistakes of others as opposed to doing the mistakes themselves. That's invaluable. If you can save yourself, because in business, it's all about you could easily lose money from making the wrong decision. But if you can ask somebody that's been there before, then you can avoid that significantly.
And have you sort of received any negative attention, like for yourself, your business, your products? Like, how do you deal with that if you have?
Yeah, obviously, because we're a mainstream brand, right? So some people just don't like the products that we put out there. Some people just like to complain on social media. So how do we deal with it? We treat every customer as the same. We would ask them what's wrong with it, what you don't like about it, and then try and find a way to either rectify it or, kind of softly explain that, well, this is what it is because of X, Y, Z in terms of where it is.
Yeah. I think Laura has one question. Have you made any mistakes, or would you have done anything differently when starting and growing your business?
Yeah, so have I made any mistakes? So I don't really like to see things as mistakes. I really like to see things as lessons. It's almost like that failing fast thing, right? So, I'll give you an example. One of the things that we did was during lockdown, we launched protein powder. The dumbest decision ever because nobody was going to the gym. But I really needed something to have online to try and sell to people. So that was a failure. That was a mistake. But it's more of a lesson because it then taught me that what you should check when you're launching something new is check the environment and actually do the research properly to get that out there. So, yes, I've made mistakes. Would I change anything? I probably wouldn't change anything. The timing was right, the timing was good, the products are good, the team that I've got are good. If I tried to bring anything earlier, may have missed the boat. If I tried to bring anything later, may have missed the boat. So no, I wouldn't really change anything to be honest.
Yeah, that's a good way of dealing with mistakes, actually. Just treat them as lessons.
No, I appreciate it.
Yeah. Kieran, you were going to ask something?
Yeah.
Oh, so you're cutting out. I can't actually
Um,
hear you.
how did you find it working with your first team?
Sorry, I
Like
can't actually hear what you're saying. It's cutting out really
outside
badly.
and bringing them in like that solo space of things was
Oh, do you want to say that again? I think you might be back now, but I didn't hear anything you said. Oh, Sarah, I think you're on mute. I think he's written it in the group.
I think Kieran's written in the chat. How did you find it working with your first team?
Yeah, how did I find it with working with my first team? So, what I did was I spent probably the past 2 years building a team, right? So, and every team member is different and has different skills. So I've learned a lot from then because like the people that can get you to X are not necessarily the people that can get you from X to Y, right? And that's the thing that you've kind of got to live with. So I yeah had people that were good for a certain time period of time, and then it's then about having kind of almost more senior people that give you that fresh perspective, fresh take, fresh look on everything.
Do you have any follow? Kieran? Oh, yeah, no. Yeah, yeah. I have one again.
Yep.
For like, because I know you're committed to supporting young founders, like especially diverse, from diverse backgrounds.
Yep.
How do you see your, I guess, your advocacy going over the next few years? Like, what else do you want to achieve in terms of supporting young
Yeah.
founders?
Yeah, so for me, I would love to see more young people, particularly, yeah, like I say, diverse founders creating businesses and particularly in fast-moving consumer goods as well. And the way in which I do that is get involved in things like Bread and Jam Festival, where again, they are like really down to earth on young people. And actually, that's probably one for you guys to connect with as well, actually, just in terms of like Bread and Jam Festival. Yeah. So like if you've got any foodie entrepreneurs, it's like a big event where you come and there's like loads of different sessions about entrepreneurship, how to set up a brand, etc., etc. But yeah, what I want to do is I will do as much as I can, and that might look like group mentoring or some sort of course that we do, like things like that, really.
Yeah, that's amazing. We I haven't actually heard of bread and jam. Yeah, but we Kieran popped in the link as well for everyone, and he has a question. Do you ever have coffee with emerging founders? And when are
Do
you
I
free? No.
do I ever have coffee with emerging founders? Again, it's if I'm in London and like there's a chance to just do it, then yeah. But I wouldn't because I'm so busy, trying to run the team, and we've actually just had a baby 8 weeks ago as well. So I've got a little baby. So yeah, yeah, bit swamped at the moment, but I'm sure that will get better, and definitely would love to go for coffee with some people.
It's promising. Kieran will just remember.
Yeah.
Try and check. Sumia has a question. Do you think it's better to have a business partner when starting a new company, or is it better to do it alone?
Yeah. So I would say. I had a business partner, but that wasn't a co-founder. So I think there's different questions in this, right? So a business partner could be someone that doesn't really do much, but is just there because they own some shares. Whereas I think the question you're asking is, should you get a co-founder who's like in it with you? And I guess the answer is it depends on what your appetite for is and how you and if that's the right person that you can work with whilst in the trenches, or if you think that doing it alone is better for your decision making and your speed, your thing. I always say it needs to be the right person because a lot of people say being a solo founder is lonely, but again, like having the wrong partners just as worse. Do you see what I mean? So yeah, it just depends on what your appetite is. But if you've got someone that shares the same values as you, can be as fast as you, and is as hungry as you, then why not?
Yeah. I forgot to read this. Laura just said congratulations.
Ah, thank you very much.
And Sarah has a question. As the business grows and takes off, how do you manage having personal time or time off to relax?
Yeah, so do you know what? Time off to relax is a crazy one, right? So I say talk about it like priorities. So the priority at one point will be to spend time with the family, and then something else will come up, and you just have to do it. Like I don't sugarcoat entrepreneurship. It is days, evenings, weekends, if you really want to be successful. Work-life balance comes when you've probably sold the brand or you're in a position where you can just recruit people and let them kind of do the work, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it is tricky. always like when starting up, you kind of use all the time for your
Yeah,
business and forget about like even just time to breathe. Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. I've got another question, Sagan, because I see you a lot in talks, in, like, um, there was a recent one, I forgot, and actually some of the launch it entrepreneurs watched you there.
Okay.
Yeah, and in those events, how would you advise, like, because you mentioned about networking,
Yeah.
what are your key tips for like making sure it's worth the time that you spend going to these?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'd say if you can, before the event, find out who's going. You can find out who's going and then have a look at what the common ground is between you and them, right? Um, Once you found the common ground between you and them, you can obviously walk up to them and just say, explain what it is that you're looking for, you're after. And but also I always talk about um almost like asking them how you can help them is a great way of trying to figure out how to get knowledge, right? So it depends on what you're trying to do and trying to achieve. So if you're looking for investment, obviously it'll then be like how you can help their investment portfolio. So just using a broad example out of nowhere. Let's say, for instance, there's a company that invests in food brands, and you've went and you've looked up at all the food brands that they have, and they don't have a drink and they don't have a sustainable drink. That's your angle. Your angle is you don't have a sustainability angle. You need something sustainable. We are the perfect proposition for this. So it's really is like digging deeper to go, what am I looking for within these events? Who am I looking for within these events? How do I think they can help me? But also, how can I position it as I can help them as well on this journey too?
Yeah, great advice. Do we have any other questions from people in the call? Yeah. If none, I think that should conclude our session for today. And again, thank you so much, Segun, for doing the talk. Really appreciate your time. And just a reminder to everyone that we will be having the next masterclass on the 4th of June, and the next inspirational talk on the 18th of June. Just go through our socials and on launchit.org.uk/digital pioneers for all the info. And don't miss out on the free mentoring and the chance to pitch for funding. Um, all the access is free, and we'll see you again next time. And thank you again. See you again.
Brilliant. Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. Really good to chat. Speak
Thank you.
soon. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.